We'll call the meeting to order. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Pastor Mary Catherine Robinson from the, yes, please go to the podium, from the Black Mountain Presbyterian Church will give our invocation.
Let us pray. O holy God, we come before you in gratitude and thanks for the gifts of family, friend, and community, for the beauty of your created world, especially apparent to those of us living in the shadow of majestic mountains and flowing rivers. It is in your grace, O God, that meets us where we are, but refuses to leave us where it finds us. We find our hope to continue to work for a world where all of your children are safe, valued, and free to live as you created them to be. In your grace, we find our hope to create a more perfect union where the general welfare is promoted over private wealth. Help us work for the flourishing of all by advocating for health, for education, for affordable housing, for second chances, and for opportunity. Therefore, we pray for our mayor, for Black Mountain officials at all levels of service, and for all assembled here this day. We ask that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our day, concern for the welfare, shelter, and provision of our people, a keen thirst for justice and compassion, confidence to stand up for the right thing, and the courage to acknowledge mistakes, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their work. Give us your strength, your courage, and your hope, that we may continue to be your agents of justice and peace in this community and in your world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. First up, we'd like to welcome Brandon Moffitt from the Black Mountain Academy and let him take a few minutes to explain the new operation that will be down to what was the old Wilson Funeral Home. You'll take a few minutes and
thanks for having
explain this to us, please.
Yeah, of course. So thanks for having us. I have a couple of my team here, our academic director, Sarah Reinhold, the shoemaker, and Aaron McGinley, who's our program director. So if you're interested in hearing from them too, let me know. So I'm Brandon. I'm the executive director. I've been a clinician the last 11 years, and part of that time was in residential care, and also at another local therapeutic program in Old Fort, Sioux, Carolinas, which is a wilderness-based therapeutic short-term intervention. And so sort of my career has steered me toward working with individuals and their families with mild autism, and had this opportunity about a year and a half ago to venture into a residential school with that focus, from a special education focus, from a life skills, social skills focus. So joined with the Aspiro group about a year ago to do that, and came to Matt Settlemeyer and Josh Harold to look at property and zoning and sort of the climate of Black Mountain in that regard, and it's been incredibly welcoming. I think there was not that I need to get into too much of it, but the program that was going to start under a different entity than ours at the Monte Vista years back. So anyway, kind of coming to town to support students in a holistic way, and excited, and want them to, we have an emphasis on education that is in development of good citizenry, not just information. If you need information, you can ask Google, but if you want to be a good citizen, it's much more complicated. So our hope is to not only as a business to be a good citizen within the community, contributing, providing resources, patronizing businesses and outfitters, and construction, architects, but also having our students find ways to participate. So there will be some point where Sarah and Aaron and I show up at, maybe in your places of business, or looking for volunteer opportunities, looking for service opportunities, places we can spend time giving back to the community, whether that's a stream cleaning or sweeping a parking lot or adopting a greenway or adopting a local park to keep clean or beautify. So we're excited about that and how that weaves into a holistic education. Appreciate the thoughts around how to have a just and equitable society in a small, quaint town that I'm fond of. So I could go on and on and on. I have long, many, many hours of excitement kind of building up to this point. So I'm just glad to be here, excited to answer questions. I was at Black Mountain News today. I think the front page news has been circulated 8,000 times on social media. So Black Mountain News and Black Mountain Academy has gotten a tremendous amount of attention in that way, which I guess is exciting and daunting in some ways. So that's the brief, and I'll let you ask questions, or folks, any work I could.
Well, just a quick one, just for the audience and for the TV audience too, is that, and how many students will you have there? What's your maximum students?
Some of that Dan Cordell's going to help dictate with me in regards to building. Our plan, we feel like that building is appropriate for 12 to 14 as a residential space. If you're familiar with the building, the first floor is zoned commercial, and even Duke Power has it's a commercial building. The upstairs is zoned residential and was a residential space. And so for residentially 12 to 14, from the kind of academic and administrative space, there will be several of us there on a daily basis. There'll be staff on site 24 hours a day. And so academically, we could stress beyond 12 to 14, but residentially, that's kind of the plan for that building.
Good.
Might also be helpful if, for everyone in attendance and or watching later, just to very briefly, just to describe the number one, we're all aware that autism is a significant just presence in our culture. That's just, that's where people find themselves and families find themselves. But will your students be all on the Asperger realm of, if autism is like this, your students and residents would be all Asperger, identified as Asperger folks?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I don't want to put people to sleep with the DSM discussion, but Asperger's was the designation from the 80s forward, was a qualifier, kind of adopted Hans Asperger's in 1944, Germany, kind of named autism. And so Asperger's is a reference to mild features of autism. A person with Asperger's tends to have high verbal ability, incredibly articulate, but going to struggle on a social level, engaging with daily life skills. There might be fine motor, gross motor coordination issues. So access to traditional sports may be complicated. So we have these often incredibly bright individuals with some hidden disabilities, although I don't tend to use the word disabilities, difficulties in their lives. So for us, thinking of our ideal student, the language has changed now to level 1 autism, but I'm fond of Asperger's myself. And so I think, our ideal student has a cognitive capacity to go to college, doesn't have the social skills, life skills, potentially the hygiene or self-care, or the confidence to pursue college. And so looking to provide those support systems through our academic program, through our residential program, so we can lead them toward college or a meaningful career. What we know with a lot of our students is that that high verbal that is not accounting for maybe a lack of organization or a lower processing speed or a lower working memory in a school setting is really, this is where disabled is the appropriate word, is disabled or limited their ability to access certain things. So we're not, we're not a substance abuse focused program, which I think is important for people to know. We may have a kid who has that as a minor part of their history, but that's not why they're coming to us. That's not a focus. That's not an emphasis at all. Would be a rule out, in fact. We're not taking students who are harm to themselves, harm to others, harm to the community. We want, again, good citizens. We want to have students who can access all that Black Mountain has to offer where it's appropriate, where the community as well as we feel like they benefit and their families benefit. In talking to 4 local families in the last week who, just from the article inquiring about their own sons, there's a request happening that I, in an idealistic way, hope to fulfill it in a long-term way, maybe 2 years, 3 years from now, to have a therapeutic day school option alongside of what we're doing. We'll have to see. We've been requested to do young adults and a girls program, and so we're going to keep our focus where it's at for now, with the opportunity to grow, depending on the needs. So, is that helpful?
Yeah.
Great. Other questions, thoughts?
If not, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
We wish you good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
We know that we don't have exactly the best, for being a small town, that we don't have the best transit systems around here, but as the town attorney and myself know from our younger years, and probably Don too, that railroad back there, there's 21 trains coming through there.
Yeah.
Great skill to know how to do it.
No transit on that front. We're hoping. I mean, one of the benefits, the beauty of the building that we've purchased and are renovating is we're in walking distance from so much of what Black Mountain has to offer, which is, I think, an important part of a physically healthy lifestyle. So if you see me on the sidewalk, it's not because I don't have a car. It's because I'm modeling what we intend to have our students do. So anyway, I don't intend to stay the remaining of the meeting to go home and have dinner with my kids. If you all would want to set up a meeting with us or my team, our operations director, Michelle's not here. Love to entertain any other questions, thoughts, perspective from you, from the community. We're really excited to be here and excited to collaborate with anybody.
If we will, we'll be through with Matt and so on. But anyway,
Yep.
Wish you good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming to Black Mountain.
Thank you. Thanks. And I will leave behind information and a card if people want to meet us individually, so I don't know where to put this, but
Give them to Angela, please.
this is my business card and just a little pamphlet of information. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next, under announcements, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes just to thank the folks who put on the 2016 fireworks. I'm going to read through these. Alderman Don Collins, Alderman Larry Harris, Art in the Afternoon, Black Mountain Family Eye, Black Mountain Fire Department, Black Mountain Lions Club, Black Mountain Savings Bank, Black Mountain Stove and Chimney, Blue Ridge Waterscapes, C&K Screen Printing, Chris Tolley Allstate, Civil Design Concepts, David Myers Builder, Dog Tag Art, Donna Gray Massage, Eat Smart Black Mountain, Family Care Home, French Broad Outfitters, Givens Highland Farms, Graybeard Realty, Gutter Works, Harwood Home for Funerals, Ingalls Markets, Keller Williams, KR Construction, Parameter Generation and Control, Precision Graphics, Renewing Smiles, Dr. Clive, SunTrust Bank, Swananoa Valley Montessori School, Valley Truck Service, and last, Western Carolina Physical Therapy. If it wasn't for these folks, we wouldn't have the great fireworks show that we have. And if anybody was downtown, they saw how many people were there. That the town was packed. Number 2 here is that, just real quick, we met with 9 South on, what was that, Tuesday, wasn't it, Ryan? Tuesday or Wednesday last week.
It was Wednesday.
And anyway, 9 South has been wondering about getting a sidewalk from 9 South beyond Cheshire all the way into town, so it was a very good meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't have all the really good answers that they wanted to hear. That is, it's starting tomorrow and will be finished next week. We have to deal with DOT, and that's the problem right there. encroachment agreements, and it just takes time. But we are moving forward. Anyone that lives out that way has seen that Cheshire is going ahead and they're actually putting in a bridge over that creek. So that's a tremendous step in connecting all those two. Also, Angela has gotten us. Was this in the Black Mountain News yet on the town community photo
Not yet.
contest? Okay.
It's been posted on social media, and it should be in next week's paper.
Okay. So this will be in there, and we encourage anyone in town to take photos and submit them to to Angela. What is the deadline on this? August 22nd. So you got 3 or 4 more weeks to go ahead and take some photos. Use existing photos. We're trying to get more recent photos as opposed to those back in the last century. But and then we will select some, and of course we're going to have a wall out in the where you come into the building, the city hall, and we're going to display them there. Last on the announcements is he does it every year, and I think it's one of the most unique things that happens in small towns. But Rick Harwood of Harwood Funeral Homes provides the big barbecue. Free barbecue for whoever just walks up and wants to eat. I think that's a pretty neat thing, pretty proud thing that we all can share in that pride. Right now, we want to go ahead and go on with the proclamation and the award recognition. This is the recognition of outgoing board and commission members. So I'm going to step over here, read your name. If you are here, please come up. First of all, the Randall Malchow. She served on the Urban Forestry Commission for 3 years. Barbara Wall. She served also on the Historic Preservation Committee. Jack Buchanan served 6 years on the Historic Preservation Committee. John Murphy, 6 years on the Greenways Commission. Don Trutwin served 4 years on the Planning Board. Molly Kinney, 6 years on the Recreation Commission. Archie Patiller served 4 years of service on the Zoning Board of Administrators. Elaine Lutzenheiser, come on up, please.
I got one. He gave it to us the last night that we were there. It's fine. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you
for your work.
service.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Terry McCall. Now, we're going to this is for the new boards and commission members, so when I read your name, if you'll come up, Angela will have you sign on the dotted line. And if you would, just please stand over here. And once everyone that is here comes, we will swear in at one time instead of individually. First one is Bill Christie, who will be on the ABC board again. Julie White for the Greenways Commission. Robin Josephs, who is going to be on the Greenways Commission. Peter Vasquez for the Planning Board. Lisa Milton for the Planning Board. Jesse Gardner for the Planning Board. Terry McElrath for the Recreation Commission. Larry Frank for the Recreation Commission. Carolyn Johnson for the Recreation Commission. Now for the Urban Forestry Commission, we have 2, Ruth Petard and Maria McLaughlin Taylor. Now for the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Mr. John DeWitt. Also, all these are on the Zoning Board. Jillian Ballard. And others.
Henry Ballard. He's my murder member.
Michael Raines. zoning board adjustment. These are the sitting members on that. We do have first alternate, second alternate, third alternate. Rebecca Harris is the first alternate. Robert Osmondson. Didn't butcher that up too bad. And last, Barry Adams. So thank you all very much for volunteering to be on these boards. And we will swear you.
After I say aye, just say your name, and when I get to the Board of Commission, just repeat your Board of Commission. You all will raise your right hand. I do solemnly and sincerely affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States.
That I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States.
And the Constitution and laws of North Carolina.
And the Constitution and laws of North Carolina.
Not inconsistent therewith.
Not inconsistent therewith.
And that I will in all respects.
And that I will in all respects.
Observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances.
Observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances.
Of the Town of Black Mountain.
Of the Town of Black Mountain.
And will faithfully discharge the duties.
And will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of my office.
Of my office.
As a member of the.
As a member of the.
Of the Town of Black Mountain, North Carolina.
Of the Town of Black Mountain, North Carolina.
Congratulations. Thank you. And I just need a top oath. So I'll let you guys get your books. And you guys can return that second sheet to your Board of Commission chair. Thank you. I'll give you another one. Just a top one. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks again. It's amazing how many hundreds and hundreds of hours that we have from citizens that volunteer. And that is what truly helps make a sense of community that we have here in Black Mountain. Next is citizen comments. Mr. Bob Gunn.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Bob Gunn, unabashed populist, which used to amuse the other members of previous boards, but that's how I identify. And I'm here tonight because of a concern that just came to my attention. Well, it started a few weeks ago when I saw the article in the paper that DOT had moved an interchange project at Blue Ridge Road up their list of priorities. That was the first I knew of that. Some of you may recall 9 years ago, that was a hot topic of conversation for 2 or 3 months around here. And the end result of all of that discussion was that our Board of Aldermen at that time wrote the DOT and asked that that project be removed from the TIP, which was done. And lo and behold, here it is back again. It didn't really sink in to me. I've had other things going on, and I just was not able to focus fully on it. But I finally did. Friday afternoon, just before 4 o'clock, I was on the phone with someone from DOT. At that time, I learned that there is a hearing in less than 48 hours, a public hearing about that project. I asked how this project got to the point where it presently is, and the answer I got was that some business interests were pushing it. Well, business interests certainly have their right to express their opinions and their point of view. My question is, where's the transparency? Where is the opportunity for other than business people to express an opinion about this? I don't see that there is any transparency. A meeting, a public meeting for the DOT staff in District 13 to hear public comment, a meeting that is not even publicly announced. How is that going to get much, if any, public comment? I don't believe it will. I'm concerned that the train is already leaving the station without an opportunity for public comment. That lack of transparency does not pass the smell test. To be blunt, it stinks. That's not how our democratic society is supposed to operate. We're all supposed to have an opportunity to have input and express our opinions. Now, there may be some who subscribe to the 1950s dictum, what's good for General Motors is good for the country. In other words, whatever business wants is going to be good for us. If you believe that, you were living on another planet in 2008 and 2009 when Wall Street and the big banks crashed the economy.
30 more seconds.
All right. I don't know. I question the legality of this hearing Wednesday evening, since there's been no public announcement. It's taking place in less than 48 hours. No public announcement. I'm not questioning the need for an interchange. I'm questioning how we got to this point with no opportunity for public input. And the DOT has responded nicely to some of my concerns. But I think I have to look on my alderman to represent the interest of all the people of Black Mountain. So I'm asking y'all to do that and get some more public input other than just these anonymous business interests that have pushed it this far. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Do you want to go ahead and mention, Bob?
Yeah, let me just, I'll be.
Let him, he was brief. He wanted just to say a few things that I called, after I talked to you, I talked to Matt, and so he's got some information.
Yeah, and I'll be brief, and this is for everybody's purposes. This meeting is not directed specifically for an interchange in Black Mountain. This is a regional transportation meeting. We did one last year. We'll do one again this year. We'll do one again in the future. There's a variety of projects. The vast majority of them having zero to do with Black Mountain. This is just an opportunity to get some input in somewhere else in the county besides Asheville. We announced the meeting at our obviously DOT is going to handle the meeting. They're using the Lakeview Center. I would encourage everybody to come. We announced the meeting at our June board meeting. It's been on our Facebook page. I don't think this was on our web page, but it's on our Facebook page. It's on DOT's web page. But again, I think the important thing, Bob, is it's not specific about the interchange. The interchange is still, even in the process, I think is still looking at 8 to 10 years away before that process starts. This is a broad view of all the projects in Division 13 in the region, and including greenway projects, road projects. Josh will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's when we did this last year, there's a variety of projects, and you kind of go and they have different boards and they have staff from DOT, and they'll talk to you about the different issues, and you can talk about the I-26 interchange, and you can talk about Lester Highway, and you can talk about the the interchange at Black Mountain. You can talk about a greenway in Black Mountain, or you can talk about the River Arts Greenway. There's a variety of DOT projects, and the money is being spent. This is an effort from DOT to not always have meetings in Asheville, to branch out a little bit. There may be other ones in other areas. I wish I knew those. I don't know, but I know the one that's here, and that's the one that's on Wednesday at the Lakeview Center, and I would encourage everybody to come and get as much input as you can. The interchange is a long-range project, but there are a lot of projects there that may be of interest. You may have family or friends or other concerns, and this is the steps to get there. We did the same meeting. I think it was roughly the same time last year, right?
But also, Bob, all the meetings of the French Broad River MPO, and that's where all the transportation projects are processed. No money goes out to any project unless it's processed through that government body. We have a representative. Ryan is. I'm the alternate. Maggie served there in the past. But those monthly meetings, or any meeting they have, they're open to the public. There's time for public comment at each of the meetings. They're over at the Land of the Sky offices on Leicester Highway. And all the documents, it's just like here in the town of Black Mountain, everything over there it's public information.
But I will say
they're happy to provide what, as you know, they're happy to provide whatever you ask for.
Yes. But in addition to that, and I would say to at least to acknowledge your concern, I think we'll make an effort to get the word out on these more quickly. These are generally DOT projects, and like I said, this is a very regional view of the projects that are going on. But I also hear what you're saying, and I don't want anybody to feel like that the information is not out there. And if people feel like we're not getting the information out broadly enough, then we'll make some efforts to expand that.
May I make one comment? Those of us who are still Luddites that rely on the newspaper for our information, that's what we expect.
And I hear that.
Social media, all this.
So hopefully in the future, then what we'll do is put that, because on the inside on the second page, at the lower left-hand side, is where we have a calendar in there of upcoming events, and we just need to make sure that something like that's put in.
Yes, and we'll work on being a little broader on what we advertise. So I understand that.
Okay, well,
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, communication from boards and commissions. This will be Mr. Christie. ABC Board Annual Report.
Mr. Mayor and members of the board, good evening. I'm Bill Christie. I'm the chair of the Black Mountain ABC Board, and I brought with me Randy Reese, who is our manager, who's going to make just a couple of comments as well. I'll make just a very, very brief presentation. Looking at and these are unaudited numbers, because our audit is just starting, but for our fiscal year ends June 30th. For fiscal year ending June 30th, 16, our income was up about 10% over last year. So, and that's, we had gross income of $2.2 million this past year. Pretty big increase in our mixed beverage sales due to, I think, just the increasing restaurant business in Black Mountain. And our net ordinary income is up 21%. So all of our numbers are looking really good. We didn't, as you know, the last few years we'd made extra distributions to the town. I don't think we made one this year. We had some extra expenses. We've been looking at renovating our store, and so we had some expenses related to that, and so we're sort of holding our capital back until we understand what's going on with that, and there's nothing to report on that other than there's conversations about that. We have a great board. Rick Harwood and Deborah Wooten are on the board. And we have a great staff. And that's why I wanted Randy to come. Randy's been the manager for a year and a half. The manager? 2 years. All right. Time flies. And Randy just is doing an excellent job and is really has the operation as a very customer-centered operation, which we're quite proud of. So I'd like Randy to make a few comments.
Good evening, everybody. Just like to reiterate what Bill said, that we had a great year. The last few years, we've seen steady growth. This year especially has been a little bit on the great side, and I think it all comes down to, having a great board of aldermen, appointing a board that works with me, works with the employees. I know in the past, I've been here almost 10 years, and in the past we've had some trying times with former boards. I've seen it. It was not fun. But now I think that we're on the right track. We communicate. These guys are great to work with. They let me, pretty much run the show. If I do something wrong, Bill will tell me. And, it's like I said, it's customer oriented. We greet people when they come in, ask them if they need help. A lot of stores, they get caught up and, oh, here comes somebody else, we don't do that. And keeping up with the trends, new items in the store, and we're outgrowing ourselves. Like Bill says, we're looking at some renovations, and hopefully in the future, we can keep this growth. Hopefully you guys can keep a good board in there. It makes a world difference. I think the numbers show. And just look forward to the future, It's very exciting when you have growth like this. And, it's kind of scary too. I tell Bill this all the time. I have to beat that next year, And so it's going real well, and it's an honor to work for the system. And when it's run well, when it's run the right way, it can really do the town well, the state, of course, and the other contributions we give, in the community. I also want to thank the police department, the fire department, EMS for all they've done when we've called upon them. I know that sometimes our alarm goes off. I don't know if that's from somebody shaking the door, are you open? And all the lights are out, or why the wind blows. But I want to appreciate them and look forward to the future.
Very good, very good. Questions from the board?
Randy or Bill, can you just for the public and people that might be watching after the meeting, summarize for the past fiscal year, the contributions made to the town, including the contributions specifically set aside for law enforcement, just so they see the benefits of the store? If you don't have that at hand.
I've got it. I can.
And we do have that posted at the store. We have a little community board, and we do have where our distributions go. And
last year, our total distributions were $103,395, and that was $18,421 to Black Mountain Police Department. First at Blue Ridge, got a distribution of $12,974. Buncombe County, $18,000, and the town of Black Mountain, $54,000. So that totals $103, and those are largely statutory, although there is some discretion in those. We try to give as much as we can.
Thank you.
And first at Blue Ridge is alcohol rehab.
That's right. We're required to support one. Other questions?
Any other questions? If not, thank you for what you've done.
Thank you.
Good report.
Thanks.
Great. Urban Forestry Commission.
Alderman, Mayor, thank you. I believe I know how to work this thing. There we go. I'm with the Black Mountain Urban Forestry Council, and we meet once a month to go over the trees in public places here in town and try to come up with ideas about how we can promote urban forestry here in town, and the benefit of the trees for the community. Last year, where am I going with this? Oh, well. Oh, there we go. Other direction. Backward. Last year was the first year that we celebrated Arbor Day as a Tree City USA. We had had that designation for about 10 years. And then the following last 2 years, we have started once again to do the Tree City USA program with the Arbor Day Foundation. And we did an Arbor Day down behind Bilo in Riverwalk Park, which was successful in our opinion, and then used that, and the following year did an Arbor Day celebration at Lake Tomahawk Park where we planted trees and did educational outreach. And that was our first year in 2015 as a Tree City USA once again. So we've now had that designation for 11 years total. This coming year, on November 12th, we're going to be holding the Arbor Day 2016 celebration around, we hope, the Gray Eagle Monument area where we have Sourwood Festival. We will be accepting volunteers to help prune a lot of the trees that are down across the street along the railroad tracks, and also actually tomorrow we're going to be picking out a location where we could do some tree planting and try to increase the tree cover here in Black Mountain. So that's a great event that we're going to hopefully continue to utilize to help spread information around town and raise the public's awareness about the urban forest canopy. We also worked last year with Jamie Matthews and the Town of Public Works Department to implement the new planting procedure for downtown. So the honey locust trees that were growing along Broadway were heaving the sidewalk. They were really too large of a tree to plant in that small of a location under the power lines. And it was a little bit of a conflicted decision, but we decided to remove the trees and replace them with something not quite so large and plant them properly. And so we implemented a new planting method that involved a larger tree pit and a pervious pavement that can let water infiltrate, that allows us to have a larger planting basin and still comply with ADA requirements for sidewalks. So that's something that we will be looking at in the future and seeing how those trees perform and whether that's something we want to adopt throughout the rest of the downtown trees as we go about replacing trees. Obviously our emphasis is going to be on preserving what we already have. We have some pretty nice mature redbud trees and sadly not as many Japanese maples as we used to have. But we're going to be working with the beautification committee as well to try to decide where trees are best and where planters are best, mostly having to do with the signage that is required for DOT and making sure that we plant trees in the right locations for the size that they're going to get. And this coming year, we're also going to try to do a lot of public outreach, maybe with the Black Mountain News, to promote the Asheville Open Tree Map. The Asheville Open Tree Map is a GIS program that works with another program that was designed by the U.S. Forest Service called iTree. And what that does is you can take basic tree data, size, species, diameter, height, crown width, and come up with pollution offset, carbon sequestration, and overall canopy cover. The town of Black Mountain's really fortunate to have a really nice, dense canopy of trees. We want to try to see it continue to be that way. And if we can implore citizens to collect their own data, it's pretty simple data to collect, and then they can input it themselves onto the Asheville Open Tree Map at asheville.treemap.org. and we can collect data about our community, and that has to do with how our urban canopy is benefiting the overall area. So that should be a really great way to get the community more involved in the urban forest canopy. And we're going to be first inputting all of the street trees that are the towns. The committee itself is going to try to get volunteer help to put all that data into the system first, and then show the town what we're doing. And last year we participated in the Beautification Committee's plant show over at the Monte Vista. That's kind of been our annual way to just answer the community's questions and allow folks to come up and ask us what their goals and opportunities are. We're always looking for more ways that we can take questions from the community if they have particular concerns, and that's one way that we've been doing it. And we also plan on utilizing the community Facebook pages to continue to try to draw information from the community about the trees and what their goals are. And we'd like to welcome our new members, Mara McLaughlin and Ruth Pittard. And they seem to be very driven people that want to help us promote urban forestry. So that's about it. Thank you all very much for having me. Do you have any
Let me
questions?
ask a couple of questions, yeah. I was just noticing on some of the hemlocks in my yard that seemed to be woolly adelgid free last year, but now I see the little boogers are back. Is it just because I had heard one time that they were just making the sweep from the north to the south, and then once they got through, that'd be it. But are they coming back, or is this another wave coming through?
Well, the warm weather hasn't helped. You know, we've had these longer growing seasons and warmer temperatures, and any insect that is very temperature dependent, and they're going to have an extra growing life cycle per year if we're having these really warm temperatures. I know last year the yellow poplar weevil was especially bad on all our tulip poplar trees around town, and that was because we'd had that warm winter, no late frosts, and it did knock the pests back. And the woolly adelgid is one of those. It's an aphid. It usually has 2 to 3 life cycles a year. Well, they're always going to have 3, and now maybe 4 life cycles a year as we get warmer temperatures. That being said, you're also supposed to treat for a lot of pests, evergreen trees you need to treat every 3 to 5 years because as they put on new foliage, that new foliage either doesn't have the chemical taken into it because it had been treated the year prior, but then over 3 to 5 years you get a full turnover of the foliage on that tree, and so after that time period there's no longer any foliage that has been inoculated with the insecticide to treat for it. So it's really important that people treat every 3 to 5 years because, as with a lot of things, if you select for a pest that does the best and comes back the soonest, you're going to be selecting for a pest that's resistant to the insecticide. So it's really important that people treat.
Are you having to change that insecticide, or is Merit still the chemical of choice?
Yeah, Merit's very broad spectrum insecticide, and I don't have any inclination to feel that that the pest is developing a resistance to it. It would be pretty difficult for it to develop a resistance to that particular insecticide, but it's possible, and I always like to warn people against, allowing a population to build back up and then treating it with the same insecticide. It's like selecting for a resistant bacteria. You're taking the same antibiotic all the time.
I went down with Matt to test out your your pervious substance that you put down there, Which, if no one has seen it, these are the trees they planted down on Broadway in front of the tea house. And it really looks amazing because when you first look at this, there's this black, it looks like black Rice Krispies. And so I was kind of wondering, is this stuff really going to go ahead and be able to let the water penetrate? So I had a 5-gallon bucket, and I leaned it up on the concrete side and poured half of it, and it didn't even get to the tree. So I poured the next half out, and it still didn't get to the tree. So I was amazed at how fast that water permeated through that substrate.
Yeah, I think long term it would be great to even develop a little bit of a stormwater system where we can direct some of the stormwater from the streets to go into those planters and try to capture some of our runoff that way as well. I mean, you're welcome to go take a couple more 5-gallon buckets and dump it on there. It probably wouldn't hurt.
All right, good. Does the board have any other questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Comments?
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Matt. Lead us through consent agenda, please.
Yes, sir. So for the consent agenda, you've got adoption of minutes from your budget public hearing in June. You've got a agenda workshop and a regular session in June. So you've got the minutes from those 3 meetings. You've got a call for a public hearing for text amendments to development agreements. It's really a couple of parts to this. One is that the General Assembly has required that we make a change to the amount of acreage required for development agreements. I think we've used the 25-acre minimum requirement to have a development agreement, and that has been removed by the General Assembly. And while we did that, we made some other changes to the language, allowing the planning board to review development agreements before they come to the town. These are generally the only development agreement that we have right now is currently with the Tudor Croft development, and generally they would coincide with a master plan. So they would be allowed now on smaller developments. I think there's probably some things that are prohibitive, so that somebody that's wanting to develop an acre or two is probably going to find that a development agreement and a master plan and some of the steps you have to go through would be prohibitive. But we were required by the General Assembly to remove that language, and this is a public hearing with that and some other changes involved. You've got a resolution to adopt the Buncombe Madison Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. You have the section. I think we have the entire plan. Angela, we have that in your office, right? The entire plan. But section 9 that I think that you see is the mitigation plan that actually applies to Black Mountain. Chief Jones and Planning Director Josh Harold have been involved with the meetings to develop this hazard mitigation plan. We need this in place to be eligible for FEMA money in case of an emergency. This mostly involves, obviously, natural hazards to the community and to all the communities in Buncombe County and Madison County. You've got a budget amendment for water debt, the refinancing of the water debt. If you'll recall, we've when we were doing some of our budget workshops and discussions, we're going to refinance the remaining debt on some water lines. That debt is due or would mature 5 years earlier under this refinance, and it would save us about $135,000 in principal over the life of the debt. The reason we're doing the budget amendment is because we'll now spend more money this year, obviously, in principal and a little less money in interest. But because of that ability or that effort to invest more money on the front end, we will save, like I said, about $135,000 over the life of the loan. And then finally, you've got a budget amendment to establish the original budget for the Greenway Fund. This has to do with the design of Phase 2 of the Riverwalk Greenway. I think I'm going to knock on wood a little bit and say that everything is signed and ready to go. I'm sure that is, I know that is true now. So we have a contract with Equinox to do the design work that goes with the next phase of the Greenway, and this is to set that up. If you'll recall, we got an allocation from DOT from Federal Highway Administration through the DOT for $150,000. Our portion of that is $30,000. This sets that fund up so that we can start spending money for the design work. I'll remind everybody, too, that we have requested an additional $2 million for the construction of that project. I can't remember the date for when we might be notified of that, but I think we feel pretty confident that we'll be able to get that next allocation. And so we will do the design work, and then we'll begin construction as soon as we can. And this is slightly off, but we also applied for TDA, Tourism Development Authority money for the construction. So we have some other pots of money that we're trying to get the construction money out of. This is the first phase of design money for that, and this sets that budget up to begin that process. And that's your consent agenda items.
Anybody wish to pull anything off to get further discussion? If not, then do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is some citizen comments on the upcoming new business of the Cheshire Master Plan. Didn't see anybody sign up for that. So we will move on to unfinished business.
And under unfinished business, if you'll recall, we did not have any applicants for Historic Preservation Commission. We have 2 vacancies ending June 30th, 2019. 2 of the reasons that we think we might have struggled to find applicants is that the town ordinance requires that these 2 seats reside within the historic district or the conservation district. You can live in one or the other, which is just a little broader than the historic district. So it's very limited to where the applicants can come from. And in addition, we have a 5-member board, and so that may have contributed to it too. I will point out, and I think you all had requested this information, but the Historic Preservation Commission is required because we have a historic district, and we would like to have the opportunity in the future to apply for grants and funding opportunities. We need to maintain a Historic Preservation Commission, and the state statute that governs that says that we can have a minimum of 3 members on the board. We have a 5-member board, and it doesn't require that the members live within the historic district. That's our requirement. So I think after discussions, it seemed to be maybe a good first step might be to amend our ordinance as it exists to eliminate the residency requirement. We still have some language that says that a majority of the members of the Historic Preservation Commission shall have demonstrated special interest, experience, or education in history, architecture, archaeology, or related fields. That's language straight from the general statutes. And that if you made that amendment to the existing ordinance, basically we would remove the section that said with at least 2 members being property owners in either the historic district or the conservation district. And that will broaden out your base for who might be interested. We would recommend that you make that you amend your ordinance to reflect that, and then we can go. Then Angela can advertise again, and there might be some people that have interest in different parts of the community. You still need to be a resident of Black Mountain, but that's actually a requirement of the general statute. So you would have to be a resident of Black Mountain, but not of the historic district. And there might be people that have levels of expertise and skills and interest that we've not been able to reach out to previously. And if you made that amendment to our town ordinance, then we would advertise again and reach out to a broader group and see if we can't fill those seats on the Historic Preservation Commission.
Having heard what this is about, do I hear a motion for the consideration of this amendment?
Also move.
Do we have any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You pass unanimously. Now we go to new business. Matt?
Yeah, and this is an amendment to the master plan for the village of Cheshire. I'm actually going to let Josh, if you don't mind, would you give a brief update of what that means? I can tell you while Josh is stepping up. I'll tell you what I think it means. But Jacob's Cottages are across the street from Cheshire and behind the fitness center, and so they already have a master plan in place. This is a traditional neighborhood development in town. They have a master plan in place, and this is going to add some property to that master plan. Is that correct, Josh?
That's correct. So if you'll remember, last year we did the master plan amendment for the 15 units that are going in Jacob's Cottages. So this master plan from time to time requires to come before this board if it's a major amendment, which this one was. What's before you right now, it would be adding 6 more lots to the existing amendment that was done last year for the 15, so it would be a total of 21 now that you would be approving. And then I guess later on the agenda will be a rezoning that we'll talk about to go along with this. But
that is it in terms of the amendment to the master plan. So what you have basically is what Josh said. You have 15 units you approved last year. This makes it 21 units. It also is going to add an additional piece of property that you'll have a public hearing on in a few minutes.
Basically, Josh, this is because they bought an extra piece of property that joined that particular Jacobs Cottages development, and they want to make that part of it.
That's correct. Yeah, this will join that existing section.
What types of units are these, Josh? Are they townhomes or?
I'm pretty sure they're just single family
Okay.
units.
Okay.
But there's like there's a square in the middle, kind of the property, and I think the garages are in the back of the houses, and they're accessed off alleys. Different concept than you normally see.
And yet the density on this is less than what that area, isn't that a TR or
TR4. But it's going to switch to T and D. But yes, but under TR4, there's still the density. They could be more dense, couldn't they, under the existing zone?
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the amendment?
So moved.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Now we get to the public hearings.
Yes, sir. Your first public hearing, and I'll do this one. Judge, you might as well just stay up there so you can be here for the other ones. But this one, this is to close the unopened platted right of way off Pearl Street. You've got the petition in your packet. Everyone has signed. This will close the portion. I think there's a fence involved in this, and there will the properties then of course will be split among on both sides of the unopened portion of the right of way.
All right. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wish to speak to the closing of the platted right-of-way off Pearl Street? Seeing nobody rushing up there, we will now get a motion to close the public hearing.
Actually, you did have one hand that was raised there.
I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if I could speak to the whole issue. I don't know. I'm the pastor of Lake Gap Presbyterian Church. And
Sure. Please come right on up.
Now, wait. But your issue is going to be the rezoning, right? This is about closing up.
Right.
Because you're talking about over here where the master plan, where we just talked about the master plan,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah.
we're going to do the public hearing for the rezoning, but that'll be your opportunity. This is off of.
That'll be the next public hearing.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry. Okay. Thanks for pointing that out to me. I didn't see his hand over there. Anyway, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimously. Now to approve resolution R-1604, the right-of-way closure. Motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now we go to the second public hearing.
Yes.
Public hearing to rezone property on Old Lakey Gap Road from TR4 to the TND.
I'll just give a little brief overview. So, kind of as we just mentioned a minute ago, the request is to go from TR4 to TND zoning. The lot to be rezoned is going to be developed for single-family residences, which would of course be permitted under TR4. It's the same. They're not disturbing the character of the surrounding area as far as the housing. And rezoning for this lot is consistent with our comprehensive plan. It meets the town goals for maintaining small town character and community identity and appearance and housing and neighborhoods.
Okay, do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor? Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and give us your statement.
I'm Martin Payne. I'm the pastor of the Lake Gap Presbyterian Church. Do I need to add anything to that? State the address.
Where do you live?
19 Sunset Drive in Swannanoa.
Okay, that's fine.
The new development's coming awfully close to our church. We didn't draw up the lines a long time ago very well, I guess, but I don't know how close the new one's going to come to the church, but I think it's going to be very close. And the church has been there since 1922, so that's a long time that it's been there, and I just hope that the development gives us a lot of respect for being in the community that long. We do have one place between our sanctuary and the fellowship hall where they had said something about maybe putting up a wall, a retaining wall, and then doing some landscaping. That hasn't been done to date. I don't know if it's on the plan, but we've got a great big drop off there, about 10 or 12 feet. We're a little bit afraid in the church that somebody, an older person or something, might actually drive off of that cliff, and it could cause a serious accident. And I just wanted to make that known. And just to give the age of the church, just to show it's been in the community for a long time, and I hope everything works out well there.
Okay, before you leave it, just, Josh, what do you know about it? Do you have any idea about what that is there?
I'm not defer to Jesse on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, we met with them early on. We're still building stone walls out there. We're not complete with the site work. The road is where the road is, so, and this rezone is not changing that road. So we won't get any closer than what is done out there today. As we promised, I think we potentially interfered with not the sanctuary, but the outside church, and we provided a sewer connection for them to tie into once we get closed out with MSD. We have to do MSD's process to close out before we tie on. I was at the planning board when this went through. I forget the gentleman's name, but he said we may also impact the sanctuary's septic, and again, we'll provide them a sewer connection if we do so. We want. Yeah, it was Mr. Presley. So we want to work with the church. We see them an asset to the small little community we're building over here. So.
Thank you.
Well, Martin, if you have any questions, that's Jesse's the gentleman to get in touch with. And if it goes beyond that, Matt.
Really?
Right on the firing line. Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to this? If not, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing? All in favor? We need to adopt a statement of consistency. Wait a minute. Don't we have to rezone it?
Yeah, you need to make a motion.
To rezone it.
Make a motion to
Then
rezone
we do
the
the
parcel.
statement of consistency,
Yes, and then do the statement of
Yeah,
consistency.
yeah. So we need to get a motion to rezone the property.
From TR4 to TND.
Correct.
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Now we go to adopt a statement of consistency to rezone property there. All in favor? Motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Very good. The third is a public hearing for text amendments to Tattoo Parlor Body Piercing Studio, 01614. Josh.
So this is an amendment. The amendment was I think it was last year, a couple years ago when I first started to work here. There was we put together some language and the Board of Aldermen adopted it that regulated tattoo parlors. I won't go through all those regulations. There's about 7 or 8, I think, different issues that have to be addressed if someone wants to start a tattoo parlor in Black Mountain. But what this does is, I guess, kind of opens it up a little more for a couple different areas, or at least one area for a tattoo parlor to be located. If you'll look on, maybe I should let you open it first and then I'll proceed. Or did you already open it? Did you already open the public hearing?
Yeah, I would just finish it, and then they'll open it, then we'll take the comments.
So on 4.6.11.4 under uses for T&D districts, you're now, of course this has went through the planning board, would be requesting to add tattoo parlor and body piercing studios to that list of uses for T&D districts. And the second and third thing both deal with the current tattoo parlor and body piercing studio. The language we have currently, which talks about distance requirements for tattoo parlors. So what this says at the end of B is they're not going to be subject to the distance requirements specifically stated in this paragraph, which mention the 500 feet of within churches, residential areas, ABC permitted establishments, etc. And then H would be to make tattoo parlors and body piercing studios come before the Board of Adjustment to get a conditional use permit as well before they would be allowed to open one of these establishments.
All right. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak to this issue?
Would now be a good time to have you ask questions if you have any? No? Okay. Well, I'd just like to say something.
Then please come right up, state your name and address.
My name is, well, good evening, board and mayor. My name is Chris Sheehan. I'm the one who instigated all this. look into this issue. And I'd just like to remind everybody that the reason why this is here before you today is because it currently isn't possible to open up a studio in town. And I'd just like to also to let you know that I would be the only tattoo artist and tattoo studio in town. So therefore, as far as any kinds of concerns or reservations you might have as far as reputation of tattoo artists and tattoo studios, I could address any of those that you have. And I want to let you know that I intend to be an amazing member of the community, contribute in any way I can, and also to give the art of tattooing a great name, a respectable name, and a responsible name here in town, so that you can know that it's not what it's been associated with in the past, where perhaps those kinds of concerns have come from, that have led to those regulations where it hasn't been possible. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Chris. Anyone else wish to speak? If not, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
Actually, I had a question for Josh. I just had a couple of questions. So that, just for probably more for the public's benefit, I better know the answers to these. But this allows it in the T&D district. How many T&D districts do we have in Black Mountain?
I'm on trial.
No, I'm just...
Just one T&D district currently,
So,
Village of Cheshire.
In Cheshire, yeah. So in Cheshire, there's obviously there's the commercial area. When you drive in there, there's the homes behind that. Then there's Jacob's Cottages that are coming online. But where in Cheshire, where in the T&D would this be a conditional use that would then be permitted?
So currently you have the commercial area on the in the section when you turn in to the left,
right.
You're going up 9, and then you have the commercial area where the gym area is.
So just because it's permitted in T&D doesn't mean it's everywhere in T&D.
Correct.
Because you couldn't do it. It can't be a home.
That's correct.
Business.
Our current regulations would not allow us to be a home-based occupation. I don't think health department's going to allow that either, but we do have that in place currently. And the 500 feet that I don't mention in here, I think it's section A of our existing ordinance, only allows, you can't be within 500 foot of another tattoo or body piercing studio. So if one were to go in this location, you could potentially have one on each side of the road and maybe meet that 500 foot for between distance, but you couldn't have two on the same side of the road, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
So the existing area where Artisan and all that is now,
Mm-hmm.
you could have one there.
Yeah.
Okay, if you wanted to put one on the other side of the road where the gym is, if that were ever to move out, then you could have one there too, because that's commercial, and you would get your separation of 500 feet.
So you would have 500 feet
Yes.
there.
Do I hear a motion then?
No, I've got a couple more questions if I can. The Board of Adjustments has to approve this if he wants to put this in the over Cheshire.
If anybody wants to come in and apply for one of these permits to put them in any area, actually, it goes before Board of Adjustment because they're all conditional use.
So the only thing that we're opening up is to the traditional.
The traditional neighborhood development.
Okay.
And that is Cheshire currently.
That's right. Or then there could be one that would be established in the future somewhere, but currently that's it.
And even if they were traditional neighborhood development, they would have to have some commercial which I guess you wouldn't be a T&D if you didn't have. You would just do regular zoning. But so they would have to have it would only apply to the commercial area portion of a T&D zoning jurisdiction, not to the residential portion of that. And like Josh said, there's inspection requirements and that sort of thing that happen regardless of what we do.
So they have to approve Cheshire.
Right.
The Board of Adjustments has to approve.
Right.
And it's still, there's limits and requirements that the town's just not, I want everybody to understand, it's not being opened up across the board. It's still going to be very controlled.
Yeah, there's still only certain districts that's allowed, and you'll have A through H of requirements that you have to meet. Not to mention, the Board of Adjustment could also add additional requirements if they're reasonable, but that's a possibility too.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to ask the motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Now we get to a motion to adopt the ordinance 01614 that Josh has spoken to amend Chapter 5, Text 5.23 of the Land Use Code.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now, a statement of consistency. Motion? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also unanimous. Now we get communication from staff.
I have none for the board.
Okay. Matt?
I only have two things, and I'll just reiterate the meeting at the Lakeview Center. I think it's, this says 4, but I think it may be from 5 to 7. That's on Wednesday, July the 13th. This is the NCDOT Spot 4 public input meeting. This is a broad view of projects going on in the area. And so I would encourage any board members and any of the public to come out and see what projects are going on and what the funding sources are that are associated with them, and to get their input in there for these projects that are for these future projects. And also tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. here at Town Hall, the Asheville Transit is having a public input meeting about the Black Mountain route. This is associated with Warren Wilson College. You may have seen this in the paper too. I think Warren Wilson's funding source has changed, so they're getting public input on what that means for this route. I would ask everybody to come out for that and get and get your input put in there for Black Mountain's purposes. There obviously the route is from here. It stops in Swananoa and goes to Asheville and comes back. So it's a broad area that they're wanting to get input from. But I would encourage the folks from Black Mountain to give as much input as they can into it, so that the transit system hears our needs and our concerns too.
Well, I'm just wondering whether we will be able to get the information from the questions that we ask. And I say that because this has been going on for years, and I have yet to ever get anything back from the Asheville Rapid Transit as to certain costs of personnel, cost of maintenance. Because when you look at how much that they're basically charging the system for us to use to service us, when you start breaking this down, it doesn't make financial sense. A lot of this money is getting into this Asheville Rapid Transit system, as best I can tell from the years past, to operate the whole system, and such that is really not that. We're not receiving the benefit of all the money that comes from the feds plus the money that we put into it.
Well, our money mostly goes to the Mountain Mobility, the van service. That's the allocation that the town is making.
Which is a county service.
Which is a countywide service, and it's the service where it's a call-in service, and it has some stops that it makes. But so it's a little different from this. But we'll try to get those answers, and we'll start.
Do we put money in that Asheville Rapid Transit?
We don't currently put money towards Asheville Transit. Warren Wilson College did put money towards it. We do not. Our money goes now. But the mayor's point is still valid in that the Mountain Mobility is also funded from federal money too. So there's all.
But we add some of our dollars.
We add our dollars to that pot.
And our dollars come from our tax money that we pay, vehicle tax.
The vehicle taxes, the tag fee is associated with that. Is associated with that money.
And is that 5 or 10?
I think it's $5 for that. It generates a little over $20,000 a year, and that money goes back to help the grant for the Mountain Mobility Program. We don't participate in this. The money that we participate in is associated with the county transit, because they just have different pots of money is where it comes from. That's the reason that it's different. So we don't participate in this. We participate in that one in the Mountain Mobility Program, and not in the Asheville Transit line.
Angela, could you see if you could try to get some type of information beforehand, because I hate to ask them those questions and they just go, well, I'll be back to you. Right. Just, if if we get some facts and figures of exactly where these grants are coming from, what they should just have a simple financial statement that they could go ahead and fax to you. So we can have that, please.
You know who you might try, and I don't know that they'd have it, Angela, are the folks at Land to Sky.
And
They may have their hand in there somewhere.
That's who we'll reach out to that probably first, frankly.
Do we have any comments from the board?
I do briefly. I just want to say, with all the weather and everything that's gone on here lately, I just want to say thank you to the police department, fire department, and public works for all the help they've given to people in the community. And Matt, of course, for all the odd hours and hard work and helping people with trees coming down and cleanup and injuries. We can't say it enough, but we appreciate everything you guys do for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Glad you brought that up. If I don't hear anything else, meeting adjourned.